this. He wants us to learn to live by faith, learn to walk by faith, learn to expect him, learn to take him at his word. He wants our confidence to be in him and not in ourselves. Because when our confidence is in him, we recognize this as the grace of God. But when we place our confidence in ourselves, this becomes a work of our flesh or the work of our own righteousness. And so God says, I want you to experience the healing power that I have for you, but you first of all got to believe. Now, the new covenant believer, which is who we are, is not sitting around waiting for God to heal. The new covenant believer understands that what's going to happen for me in my future has already been worked out by God in my past. Lord have mercy. Let me help you understand. Come. I've got two gentlemen who are going to help me to walk this out. I want you to be my past, and I want you to be my future, and I am my present. Well, Jesus hung on Calvary's cross, and the Bible says that he was whipped with cat o' nine tails, and so his flesh was beaten. He was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him. Just stretch out your hands like you're hanging up there on the cross. And so here then is where my healing took place. The Bible says in the book of Isaiah, with Jesus' stripes we were healed. I was healed here. I was not even born here, but I was healed here. Before I was born, healing had already been made available for me. Before I was even thought of, before my mother and father ever got together, healing had already been provided for me. Healing is here, and I am born here. And so now that I am born, God doesn't wait until I am born to provide healing. He understands that as sure as you are born into an Adamic nature, into a world full of sin, you are going to need healing. So what God did for us is he gave us what we needed before we got here. Before he placed Adam in the Garden of Eden, he equipped the garden with everything that Adam needed. That's the way God sets you up. When God does a thing, he equips that place for you before you get to that place. And so he equipped humanity with the provision of healing before we were even born. And so then you represent my past. Healing is a part of my past. And so going forward, it becomes a part of who I am supposed to be. I am supposed to walk in divine health. Well, here is the thing that happens in my present. Sometimes because I don't know with Jesus' stripes I was already healed. Sometimes because I don't understand what that means. Sometimes because I don't believe what that means. I walk around in my present being disconnected from the provision of my past. And so I never get to experience the benefit in my present because I don't even know nothing about my past. Look at your neighbor and tell them, hook it up, hook it up, hook it up. And so it's when I connect with what God did at Calvary that I'm able to carry that into my present. But I'm not just walking around here in my present. I'm not just praying because I got sick for God to heal me. I'm walking around now in faith. And I may have to pray today for something that's going to happen in my tomorrow. I may have an infirmity in my body today, and I may have to stand in my present today and declare the word that came out of my past and walk in faith in my today, even if I don't see the healing on Sunday. The healing manifestation may not happen until Friday. So I stand in my present, pointing towards my future with what God has already done in my past. Look at your neighbor, tell him I'm a new covenant believer because I recognize that what God did at Calvary, it went from my past through my present all the way into my future. It didn't even stop with me. Look at your neighbor, tell him you can't even disqualify this because what God did for you, it didn't have nothing to do with you. You think you healed because you saved. You think you healed because you righteous. Sometimes he calls the righteous home to glory. Look at your neighbor and tell him to be absent from the body. That's right, to be present with the Lord. And so just because manifestation of healing may not take place sometimes in my physical body, it does not mean that I am not healed. Matter of fact, I would be much better than all of you if I were in the bosom of Abraham. Look at somebody near you and tell them God wants you to be healed.